so many things that make us feel scared and hopeless and alone. That's why we're grateful for gatherings like this, where we can be ourselves, where we can be honest and cry and grieve and remember and get mad and question and comfort each other. We pray for all who are grieving, especially those who lost someone they love in Orlando. God, give healing to so many who are wounded. And shine your healing light into all the dark, shadowed places in our lives and in our world. God, frankly, this hurts, and it sucks, and it's scary. We grieve, but we are also hopeful and defiant, because we know hate is never right, and never your will. And love is love. And love is always good, and love always wins. Amen.
Thank you, Sandy. I've always been said I've never needed a microphone. My name is Rick Holman, and I'm Executive Director for Butte MT Support Services, and that's who's putting this on tonight. I read this on the net the other day, and I thought it was worth a repeat. It's so true. You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are oddly made, and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught before it's too late, before you are 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate. You've got to be carefully taught.
Self-specific.
That's it. And it's so true. I mean, the hate that came to Orlando wasn't learned hate overnight. It was hate from a source. June is a month that we should all be celebrating Pride. But instead we've come to mourn the loss of 49 lives and concern for the 53 people who lived through this horrific nightmare. The purpose of these killings is to scare people, to make us take a step back, and that's not going to happen. We need to go to Pride events this month to show our strength, to show the people that carry this hate that love will win in the end. We have come a long ways from sneaking into gay bars, the only place where we could feel safe and be ourselves, from having to use code words like Friends of Dorothy, from being beat up on the street and never reporting it because we were afraid of the police more than we feared the thugs on the streets. When in gay districts, people walked in groups, when we heard that the guys walking alone were being targeted by high school kids from the suburbs, and they jump out of their vans and beat people up with baseball bats. Tonight, we think, until a gunman walked into a bar, and opened fire, killing 49 of our brothers and sisters and wounding 53 others. And then 3 days ago, in Los Angeles, a plan to blow up a gay bar was squashed by the cops. good month for Pride. And you might ask why. And I don't know how many people in this room know what else happened on June 24th of 1973. Does anybody know?
Isn't it the Stonewall Riot?
No. It was the worst mass killing of gays up until now. On June 24th of 1973, the final day of Pride in New Orleans, the Protestant denomination that had just been formed a few years before held services inside a club located on the second floor of the three-story building at the corner of Chartres and Irvinville Streets. The MCC was the United States' first gay church, founded by Troy Perry in 1968. After the service, the club hosted free beer and dinner for 125 patrons. At that time of the evening, some 60 people were listening to pianist David Gary perform and discussing an upcoming MCC fundraiser for the local crippled children's hospital. At 7:56 that night, a buzzer rang downstairs, and the bartender, Buddy Rasmussen, an Air Force veteran, asked Luther Boggs to answer the door, anticipating a taxi driver. Boggs opened the door on the second floor to find the staircase engulfed in flames, along with the smell of lighter fluid. Rasmussen immediately led some 20 patrons out of the back door to a roof exit where the group could access a neighboring building's roof and climb down to the ground floor. Some attempted to escape by squeezing through barred windows. One man managed to squeeze through a 4-inch gap only to fall to his death. Bill Larson, the pastor of MCC, climbed to the bars of the window until he died. His charred remains were visible to onlookers for hours afterwards. Many bodies were never claimed because this was something that relatives did not want to claim the body of a son or a daughter that was killed in a gay bar. 32 people died and 15 had non-fatal injuries. Unlike today, this was barely a bleep on the news. This piece in the paper said, "Fire in bar, some dead." That was the New Orleans paper. It became real personal to me. I was celebrating my 26th birthday at the Exile Bar in Houston when the news came about the fire. The owners of the Exile Bar were from New Orleans and knew some of the people that died that night. Bobby and Frank paid for some of the funerals. Another Pride Month disaster, but we moved on, and as Steve Manteca so eloquently puts it, you can wound us, kill us, propose bills to take away our rights. You can judge us, bully us, project our fears on us. You can censor us, ignore us, but you will never stop us. We are a community of survivors. We have battled persecution from our families, our schools, and our governments. We lived through the Holocaust and the plague, and when we have always dared to let our dreams reach beyond us. Every time we got knocked down, we got right back up. And that's just what we do. Thank you.
Right on.
Well, thank you, Rick. Well, first of all, I serve a church where we have a lot of gay folks, and some of you folks come. And at that church, I wear this long stole. It's like a long scarf, it comes around each side. And often, I don't have a mirror, so I can't tell whether it's even on the bottom. So I think Tom Galster was the first one, actually, that I went up to him and I said, "So am I straight?" And he said, "As far as I know." Not that anyone cares. I'm very honored to have a chance just to speak for a minute, because I am straight, but I spend a lot of time with gay folks. And first, I guess, the man who was the shooter in this particular circumstance was not a Christian. But there's been a lot of awful, beyond hateful things that Christians have said. And I can't even begin to say, I'm sorry. On behalf of Christians, on behalf of the group that I claim, Christians, I want to confess. I'm not even going to ask for forgiveness, because I don't know that we deserve it. But I will say I'm sorry, and I hope that you can hear that. Like a lot of you, I've read a lot of things this week on the internet and seen all kinds of people share. And one of the things that really struck me was somebody who said, just like African American Christians, the shooting that happened, at Mother Emanuel really hit hard. It was in their church. It was in their sanctuary. And somebody said, "Hey, you know what? This was in our sanctuary." It just reminded me that their churches, for the most part, have not been a sanctuary, a safe place for gay folks. But gay bars have. So I thought maybe we could just take a minute, and if you feel like it, just to mention those places for you that have been sanctuary, that have been safe, that have been a place of joy and dancing and friendship and love. Because I think in some ways what we have to do is reclaim those and say, you don't get to take those away. So I'm just wondering, anybody